They shut down our posts, deleted the feed. All cause we asked who's planting the seed. 3 houses, 1 street, too close to the core. They said, shh. We said, let's explore. We just locals with a cam and a cause, but we write hard, now they reach for the claws. From trolls in town to Parliament flags, still we stand. Truth never takes a step back. Don't need a budget, don't need a boss. We got heart and we bear the cross. So rise with us, don't stay afraid. Monaro strong when truth is played. Yeah.
You can't keep a good man down. The truth's gonna catch ya, catch ya. It's coming around.
James, welcome to the Monaro Zone.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for inviting me to your place. It's a beautiful home.
Oh, thank you. We love it very much, yes.
I didn't know you were so close to the Cooma water tanks.
Yeah, close. I was thinking about that this morning. I was monitoring the fires and things at the time here because we're so close to the bush. And I was sitting down in the barbecue area watching for embers and things like that in the dark around whatever time it was. And I didn't hear it go. That night was the night that it went, and I didn't hear anything and didn't know anything about it till the following day. And I can't believe that.
And it didn't, you weren't affected by the flooding?
No, we had no effects whatsoever. And then we heard the devastation and the trucks and things starting to move, and yeah, it was all just totally distracted with the fires.
Wow, that's a blessing to be
Yeah,
amidst the fire and amidst the flood and to be untouched by both.
Yeah.
I'd call that providence.
Yeah.
Now, you've had a fascinating life in the region. You grew up in Berrydale, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Born here in Cooma Hospital, like a lot of people, but yeah, lived in Berrydale. My mother and father were out there as well. They grew up in Berrydale. It goes back a fair way. We're multi-generational, both myself and my wife. 7th generation, I think the kids are. We've got, both of us have earlier members of the family buried at Christ Church, which is the old church, the original church of Cooma. I was educated here in Cooma, Monaro High, and then on to the TAFE to do an automotive apprenticeship. And my wife lived here. We moved back out to Berrydale when we got married, raised the kids out there, which was really good for them. And then when they were getting close to completing high school, we moved back into Cooma.
Wow.
Yeah.
And during your time here, you've mostly been a mechanic, is that right?
Oh, I started out initially as an apprentice working for guys that owned a service station or a pair of service stations, both in Jindabyne and Berrydale, hand-pole service stations. And a couple of years into that, then they sold, and my father and I actually went into business while I was still doing my apprenticeship. So he was a motor mechanic, and we traded for about 23 years in self-employed in workshops between Berrydale and Jindabyne. We had a 10-year stint up there, and it all failed dismally at the end, but that's just experience. You tick a box and move on.
Well, I'm grateful that you kept this region ticking while you were there.
Yeah. So then I was rescued by one of our suppliers and employed through a German automotive and fastener company, Worth Australia, not dropping names, but that was it. And that was a really good step into a sales career, and I got to see a lot of the area and I met a lot of the people that I didn't know. And experienced quite a bit through that and had numerous sales positions from different companies. Everyone got sick of me chopping and changing. Worked in the automotive dealerships here in town, both of them. Sort of only managed to stay about 12 months in each because I was too independent, partly. And in addition to that, I also had 3.5 years on the council in the workshop doing fleet maintenance work. Specifically, it was a casual position to maintain the RFS vehicles, do annual servicing and things like that on them, which was really good. And I got to know a lot of the people in the rural fire services community. That was quite interesting, but as you do, you move on. And ended up with another sales job, which was actually my final job to be. It was like what I sort of worked through my sales career for. It was with an oil company, and then COVID come along and destroyed that. So back on the tools again.
I see. And, you would have seen Cooma change a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah, for sure. way the
Especially,
infrastructure works, and all sorts of things.
especially coming from Berrydale to Cooma, you would have seen the whole region
Yeah,
reshaped in the last 50, 60 years.
yeah. Well, we're travelling on the school bus every day into high school here for 4 years, and you'd see an evolution of from that point to now, the change in the town itself, the community, the people have changed quite a bit considerably, but I think that's a global influence or an influence from things around. But yeah, it would have experienced a lot of change. Yeah.
Now, is it the truth that the roads were better back then than they are now?
Oh. Yeah, but there was a lot less traffic in the defence. Yeah, a lot less traffic. The vehicles were nowhere near as heavy, and the speeds as well. The speeds of those vehicles, like today's heavy vehicles, are travelling at 100 kilometres or more, and that's a high stress on the main roads. The rural roads, I travelled those quite a bit over the years because both my parents did school bus runs out of Berrydale and a mail run, and delivered some groceries and things too on the roads out the back of Berrydale. They were challenging at times. The roads were, they didn't have the equipment that they have now to do the gear. I think all in all, with the rural roads that they maintain, they do a pretty good job. But I don't like the idea of them not maintaining certain roads, because that just leaves people out swinging, and defenceless.
Now, were blessed to meet during the recent council elections.
Yes, yeah.
What was your motivation for running? And you did reasonably well, considering that you were in a group of 3. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a group of 3, and that was against us a lot. We did okay. I was pretty happy with the results for the 3 of us combined and what we did. The reason why I got into the council, or was in the council election, it had been suggested to me that we could make some change, and I could see that. I was fairly deeply concerned of the external influences on our local government, our local council. There's the state and federal government, even though they profess to be the providers of money and funding and all that sort of thing, coerce in the area. They're too great an influence on us, on the council itself. The council's a community-driven thing, so it should be.
So it should be. Can you give a specific example of this external influence?
Yeah, well,
And by who?
It gets up pretty big, but it's the United Nations is probably the greatest influence on all governments and countries, and they've been trying for a very long time to chip into nations and strip away the sovereignty of the nation. And the call was made that they would come in on the level of local council, where they can get to the masses straight away and create the most amount of disruption.
Is that where things such as Agenda 2030 come into play?
Yeah. Yep.
The recent SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals?
Yeah, that's part of it. Funnily enough, I was talking to one of the crew operators, not crew operators, one of the road guys at the council at lunchtime one day, and we were talking about a couple of items, and he suggested that I actually get a copy of Agenda 21 and read it. And that was really what tipped me over the edge on where we headed to where we are today.
Wow. When was that?
That was whilst I was working at the council in the workshop. Yeah, that was in the it would have been early 2000s.
And there was already a copy of this Agenda 2021.
Yeah.
Publicly available.
Yeah, publicly available. It's always been public available. Everything's there. All you've got to do is know where to look.
Well, what would you say to those that haven't read it or aren't sure about it, that would just say, well, it's a good thing to be sustainable and to have development goals?
Yeah, it's what's missing in the message that's the problem. It may look nice and warm and fuzzy on the outside, but the cost of doing so it's pretty dramatic. Okay.
So why don't you define for me what you think the Sustainable Development Goals are, and what are the problems with them?
Well, well, I've never paid them full attention because I've not wanted to go down that road. I couldn't tell you what they are. There's 17 sustainable development goals. And it's an interpretation as to what you can see. It's erosion of sovereignty. It's an erosion of family. It's an erosion of personal finances, land's possession, your own property rights. That's the main thing behind it all, is to lose your independence. And that was where you'll find that they might come in and be doing something like providing, even myself, now providing money for little effort, reward for no effort, that type of thing, buying your complacency and your compliance. They make a big song and dance about the environment and the cost to rectify the environment when it really isn't. Well, the climate is not such an issue. The environment always is an issue. We need to look after it. But the steps that they take are probably far more dangerous and worse for the environment than they need to be, like the sustainable energies and things like that. So it's all part of that big picture. If you've got any questions as to where or why things are going the direction they are, why is your gas bill so high, why is your electricity bill, land rates, everything making it impossible to live, it's coming from there.
You would trace it back to the
You'll track it back to the sustainability goals.
In what specific ways have these sustainable development goals eroded things like the family?
Yeah, the family, it's a hard one, and I don't want to point out individual groups or things like that, because that's the comfort zones that they've found and they're living better with their lives. But one thing that they've done is that they've taken the youth and convinced them that it's our generation or the older generation's fault that things are the way they are. And that puts a lot of pressure on the family. The education that they're given errs towards that. There's a lot of groups out there forming to influence the youth of the country, and it really does turn back, making people look inside the family as to where that problem might lie. And it's just really making it so unaffordable too to live is putting another additional pressure on things. The cost, the fact that both partners have to work full time, and sometimes they're like ships in the night, and it's not a traditional family thing to sit down to dinner. That's one of the goals, is tear the family apart.
Now, specifically in regards to tearing the family apart, do you think it could dovetail into this current culture war that's taking place in all Western societies?
Oh, indeed, yeah. The cultural war, the fact that there's so many different people from different origins, original, their cultures are so different, and it makes it extremely hard for society to gel, because you do tend to segregate, and you'll see that. Even though areas in the community attempt to pull all things back together, it always seems to lead to segregation again.
I think what you're suggesting is that there's conflicting worldviews within a community.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that puts it very right. And it gets very difficult, like in a social scene as well. It leads to distrust, and that's not what we want in a small community like this.
So I'm guessing what you're trying to say is, in the past, when there was a lot of immigration, those immigrants would tend to emancipate into the society.
Yeah, they did. They also had a lot of problems with their own. Like, you'd have people that were fighting against each other in other countries, having to work together. Yugoslavs and I forget what other. But the nationalities of the Snowy days, everyone integrated in fairly well. And there was a fair effort to do so by everybody to get on, like, because the Australians have such a sense of humour and they're comical and roguerish. They make fun out of the people, the immigrants, but they make fun of everyone, including themselves.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah,
leaders,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that sort of eased things in, and everyone, they all got in and had a go, and the guys after the Snowy that stuck around done other things in the area, and made a big difference in the area, and settled and populated and farmed and brought their foods and everything to the different nationalities of things to the area.
And so, in what ways have we seen that sort of erosion? Is it the woke culture? Is it this political niceties that you have to follow now that have eroded that culture?
Yeah, that's quite a fair bit of the problem I see. The erosion of that Australian spirit. You're made to feel sorry, or people are made to feel sorry for what's actually has gone by, what they might think and say. It's like, we can't have a joke. We can't take the mickey out of somebody anymore. You need to be mindful of everyone's, how they feel, their feelings, and not upset them, and go the way of everybody.
What's the saying? It's okay to be racist to white people, but you can't be racist to anybody else.
Yeah, true. Yeah, quite right. Yeah.
Do you think there is a lot of self-hating of the national identity going on?
Only
by the ABC?
Oh no, the ABC. It's not the only one that's guilty. It's fairly bad. I think the political machine's fairly bad. I think that's to be held to account for that sort of thing as well. That they're all about promoting separation and wanting people to not get on. Like, they'll do whatever they can behind the scenes to stir up somebody.
So, for instance, something that should be uniting the nation, like Australia Day, is permitted to be called Colonizer Day.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. Or what was the other term that they used for it? It was Invasion Day.
My apologies.
Incorrect date too. It's not the day. The 26th of January is not the day that they set foot on the continent. It was 18th of January, I believe.
Well, why shouldn't it be called Invasion Day?
Yeah, why shouldn't it?
Why shouldn't it be called Invasion Day?
Look, that really goes towards separating the foundations of the nation. There's been loss, but there's been a lot of improvement too. And there's been a lot of improvement into life expectancy, as was something that you brought up before, of the Indigenous community. They're still getting left behind in a lot of ways, but totally, I do not believe that the voice was an answer. And the nation pretty much agreed with that when the referendum come along. Even though the government hasn't got the message, they're forging ahead with it anyway through the state governments. And that's a UN-driven thing.
My position would be that the government shouldn't be pushing a race-based agenda. Rather, we should unite around the common theme that we are Australians by nationality. Regardless of whether you're born here or born abroad, once you're integrated into society, you're Australian, and it doesn't matter if you're black or you're white or you're yellow. That we center around this idea of a national identity instead of a race-based identity.
Yeah. And you listen to any of the commentators that are talking of their second or third generation, and they are diehard Aussies, and their parents and grandparents appreciated the options and what they were given, the opportunities they were given when they come to this country, and they grabbed that baton and run with it, and really succeeded and made a huge difference to the nation. Whereas I think what's happening now is that we've got this immigration carte blanche where every 22 minutes we're getting a new migrant into the country. And they're not the illegal ones that they used to be. They're, welcomed, warm, come on in. But if someone needs a hand up, great. Australia's very welcoming and always have been, and most European nations will be that. But if they're being brought in for another purpose at the cost of the Australian taxpayer, and they're not able to integrate and contribute to the country, then it's a burden, and that will lead to separation within the country as such. But it's not just restricted to Australia. You'll see what trouble they've had in the States with coming over the Mexican border, and the UK's got the same problem, but the government's welcoming them in. Again, they say it's the rubber boats coming over the channel, but there's more coming in aeroplanes than you could ever imagine. Ireland's completely trashed, and we've just got to wake up, open our eyes, and be very aware of what's going on with the immigration policy.
When I turn on the TV, though, I don't see the United Nations bringing in this flood of migrants. I see the Labour Party.
Yeah. Well, government. Yeah, you can say the Labour Party. It's good to label the brand that's in there at the moment. Yes, they are the political party that's done the majority of damage to the country over the years, and eroding our sovereignty and changing the constitution and free trade agreements, and it's all been done on their back. But the problem is that when the other side of government gets in, nothing's done about it,
and they do
they just continue on anyway. They're not as in as big a hurry to do it as what Labor is, and they've really got the skates on now, because the things that they thought they were going to achieve, people are really starting to wake up against, and they've really had to pull out the stops to get things done. And
to be specific, you're talking about the Liberal Party here.
The two wings of the same bird, basically. The government's the main problem, the machine of government. Yeah, but I don't know how we're going to cure that, how we're going to get people to see.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Suppose you had got into local council, how would you have affected change?
I'd thought about that. The numbers that were there of people that were like-minded, if we could have got 1 to 2 more free-minded councillors in, and you were a good chance there too, Chris.
Thank you.
We could have had a better swing of power. We would have, not that it was a power grab, but it was to make change and just keep that die-hard old accountability going, and some honesty about the operation. I think the main thing I wanted to get into with the council was so I could see how much the people working within the council, because there's a lot of good people in there, hell of a lot, and the ground staff and the guys out at the depot and the water crew and everybody there, they're fantastic, and they would do a better job if they were allowed to, or able to, allowed to. And I wanted to get into the main part of the council to see if I could find where the erosion was commencing, where the cracks were developing, who was aware of what was actually happening. Are they aware of the effect of the sustainability goals? Are they aware of how much the UN is attempting to erode the council, infiltrating the council? They're in our local, state and federal government. So just who is who? It would have been nice to identify where the problem was.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the words accountability and honesty as well. In what ways could the council improve accountability?
I think,
for instance, has anyone been held to account for the water tank disaster?
I don't think you'll ever see that. And that'd be a very hard call to make because there's a lot of people probably involved in that decision. It wasn't the guy who turned the tap on, and it probably wasn't the guy who told him to turn the tap on. And it could be external influences from outside the council that pushed that lever. I don't know. I don't think you'll ever truly find out.
And I suppose that's where you want that honesty.
Yeah. Honesty would be good because then you wouldn't necessarily need to deal with that accountability, because if you're honest, then I think a lot less will go wrong because they're exposed to it straight up. Oh, I made a mistake. This is how it occurred. What shall we do about it moving forward? Not try and hide and conceal and cover up everything.
Do you have any other examples of where the council may have covered up things?
Oh, no, that's not a stone I'll throw. No, I don't believe. There's a lot of places. Like, one thing that I was aware of when I was at the council, the administrators came through, and I don't recall the gentleman's name, but the guy who was running the council at the time, and he came through and doing an intro and just getting to know the infrastructure of things. And in his conversation, he said that two of the main goals that they wanted to achieve, and this is right at the amalgamation, because that's when I started.
So 2016, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, that was in the world. I was in the workshop then. I went on board the same time that they amalgamated, and even back then, he stated on the workshop floor, two of the things that they had to achieve or needed to achieve was to lose the liability of the rural fire services out of the council's restraints, which we've seen attempted already by Mayor Davis. It was one of her objectives. And
can you just clarify that point?
Yep.
What does that mean?
Well, they were all the assets. They were trying to realise the dollar value of all the assets of the RFS equipment, and then not have to maintain it, not to have to deal with the costs of maintaining it.
So who would have to maintain it?
That I don't know.
And
a third party?
Who would be in control of it?
Privatise it? What have they done or tried to do in Victoria? Yeah, who would be in control of it's exactly right. Yeah, that was one of the objectives. It was fairly blasé. And the second one that has come to fruition was to get out of the nursing homes and aged care. And he stated that day.
Who stated that?
I don't remember the man. That was the administrators, the general manager in administration. And I don't remember his name, but he stated that.
In council's defence, maybe the RFS would be better off apart from the council, and maybe the nursing home would do better under private care than
possibly. I hear it's a lot more expensive now and a lot more difficult to get into. It's a shame that the infrastructure's disappeared, because the community put a lot of money and effort and time into that infrastructure. Berridale and down here.
Yallambee,
yeah, terrible.
You mentioned a name before related to the RFS.
Yep.
Yeah, she was also involved in the nursing home issue.
Yeah.
She was in the papers, I believe, recently regarding that.
Yeah.
Did you want to go into more detail on that?
No. No, I think that one will swing itself eventually. That it'll come out that that's where the erosion's been coming from. That's about all I've got to say on that.
Well, she was in charge when the Claire Noland incident occurred a few years ago.
Yeah.
Not that I'm putting that on her.
No.
Just saying that she just happened to be there.
Yeah, just happened to be there. Yep.
Now, you've also spoken about the erosion of community values. What does that mean in practical terms?
Oh, in practical terms, it's in our local communities. We haven't really started to see it yet, I don't think. There was a fair bit of segregation or separation with the COVID lockdowns and the vaccine mandates and all that sort of thing, and we experienced that firsthand. That's something that should be forgiven, but it's not. Everyone seems to be hanging on to that a bit, and I would be myself personally in some areas with some of the businesses around town and their actions and the way they were. That really did drive a wedge to the community, separate the community, and I find that people's attitudes towards each other are a bit more vicious or a bit more resentful these days. That was one thing where the community sort of has fallen away. That there seems to be this disparity of different folk, different people. One that decided to do one thing and it affected the other, and things were said that shouldn't have been. And
In fact, I think there was a couple in Jindabyne that had been arrested, that ran a business in Jindabyne, that were arrested during that time.
yeah, true, you're right. Yeah. There was a lot of things like that went on, and
That's crazy
farm
to think about it
raids
now.
out at Amenaby Way. Some fairly savage farm raids in places out there, and it was scary times, and people haven't forgotten that. Yeah, that was one thing that really did it. The cost of living's killing people. Accommodation costs here, rentals. Oh my God! Like no one. Yeah, all the people with rental properties are cleaning up, and that's great. As long as they can stay on top of the interest and all that sort of thing,
And the
and
council
the rates. Yeah, as long as they can stay on top of that. But we've witnessed it firsthand that where one of our children wasn't able to afford to live in rental, and hadn't been able to afford to save up for buying a property.
Now, we're talking about Cooma. We're not talking about Mascot or
No,
Blues.
Cooma. Yeah. It was the rentals just through the roof. And he couldn't afford to rent a house, and he had been renting a property, and he got evicted for no reason, not for being at fault, just that they wanted to up the rent, and he had a lease, and they couldn't do it. So he was given plenty of time, and unfortunately had to come back home
Now,
to
for
get
clarity,
back on his feet.
that's
For
not
him, not
entirely
us.
a local council issue, though. This seems to be a national issue.
Yeah,
housing crisis.
for sure. Yeah.
But do you think the local councils exacerbated this in some way?
Uh,
I
The
would say
co-
that's with SRV, the special rate variation, but that's just my take.
yeah, I think the continual hiking of the rates to cover whatever tracks they've got to cover with, high court decisions and always in the courts, and the insurance premiums must be getting dearer and dearer.
They've
and
been losing
dearer.
a lot in the courts lately.
No, courts aren't doing too well.
You're referring to the Aratula case, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an embarrassing one.
Yeah. No, it's and there's more to come, I'm sure.
Oh, from my understanding, I think there's another 2 or 3 cases before the Supreme Court right now.
Yeah.
One is because the council doesn't want to say sorry.
Mm. Yes. Yep. And look, the Mikalago quarry is another questionable situation. It really begs to, how is it back and functioning again? And
It just reopened on Monday.
Yeah. How's it reopened when there was asbestos issues supposedly, and water table issues and all sorts of things affecting the Mikalago community.
I went to ask some certain people about where they thought the asbestos came from. They couldn't give me a straight answer, but they said it must have been pre-existing.
Pre-existing, okay.
In an iron ore site.
Okay.
That's just what I heard.
There's a lot of naturally occurring asbestos, for sure.
Yeah, this one.
But not when it's white sheet.
Exactly.
And
right.
it's got little dots on the back of it.
Exactly right.
And no,
it's hard to find that in nature.
Yeah, it's like looking for aluminium oxide.
It says hardy board.
It's like chasing a natural source for a refined material like aluminium in the metropolitan waterways. Yeah, it doesn't occur.
Now, some would say that that's not an issue of community values eroding, but that could just possibly be mismanagement.
Yeah. That was just an example of things, but the community is losing a lot of faith within local government.
Now, some people blame me for that.
You. That's not a bad thing.
I think I'm a symptom of the mismanagement.
Yeah. No, I'd hang your hat on that one. And I was going to say how honourable it is for me to be in company of someone who's been removed from Facebook.
Oh, thank you, James.
That means you must be right on the money,
I
over the target, like
I
a
do
few
feel
others.
encouraged.
Yeah.
I didn't get a warning at all.
No.
I just woke up one day and found out that I'd been suspended indefinitely.
Yeah. Yeah. I know some of my activities have slowed quite a bit over the years. Yes, it seems like anything I do or say on Facebook really falls on deaf ears.
Well, you'll have to come across the Substack.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
Now, what do you think the direction of aged care will be in this region? Is that something? I think you might have a relative that's involved heavily in this, Cheryl.
No, not really a relative. Well, family as such at a very long distance. Yeah, one of my wife's cousin's wife. Yeah. Cheryl is involved in it. I've only spoke to her once on it. There's others that have a lot more to do with her than I have that are involved in the aged care. So, well, really deeply concerned about the aged care thing, not using names. I don't know where that's going to end up. In private hands, Berridale, I had heard there is an interested party for the Berridale hostel, and just for the moment I can't remember who it was, but it was a local charity. It was discussed that Cooma Challenge might be involved with it.
Do you think there's been a deliberate effort to divest council of all these aged care?
Absolutely, yeah. From what I hear, the way that the residents were moved out of Berridale and not renewed, and Berridale had to meet a compliance. I understand that, and it probably was going to cost a lot to do that. And having 24-hour nurses available is a hell of a cost to the nursing homes and care facilities. But I feel it was fairly deliberate, and I think it's fairly disgusting that the infrastructure that's there in that Berridale property and the land and the effort to build the property and all the volunteer work and everything and all the chook raffles and the cake stalls and all that went into aged care through the community, there's no accountability for that. It's gone. It's gone. Like some families donated property to build these things on and for future development as well. That sort of thing's appalling.
Do you know Kylie Pask?
Yeah.
It was during my talks with her that I discovered that her family contributed a lot of labor, a lot of money towards those projects as well. And I think that's probably the strongest argument for maintaining the centres, in the sense that the community is directly involved in the care of these centres.
Yeah.
But let me approach it from the opposite angle of, we've seen what happens when council run things.
Yeah.
And it's often not in the best interest of the people when they do, because I think council's often wasteful and inefficient. I'm not putting the blame on individual staff, but I think that's just naturally what happens.
Yeah, the machinery of it.
With large bureaucracies, things become naturally inefficient. Couldn't the argument be made that care of the elderly could better be done by the private sector entirely, rather than taking ratepayers' funds and throwing that into aged care?
Yeah, it could be argued, and that's quite right. The problem being that achieving the dollar value for the infrastructure that's there to run it, and to still care for those that are in care while that transition goes on. That's the real hard juggle. To see Yallambee's infrastructure just gifted to get out of a predicament is appalling.
What do you mean gifted?
I don't believe there was anything more than a handshake and a contract. I don't believe that I'm not aware of any money changing hands for the property, as I'm aware. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's the case. And that vacant block that's sitting there for the future development, I know that sold for a great deal of money too, but it had a service station on it. And yeah, that hasn't been incorporated into it as yet, but it's still under the land title, I'm sure. Yeah.
I would hope that out of the 20,000 residents in this region, that we could care for the elderly, for the pioneers that built this place.
Oh, you'd hope so. Yeah. I think they've kicked a goal in Bombala with the aged care out there, and they're also they've brought in the state and federal government funding to assist them too. But it was the community that really got that fixed first before someone else thought they'd come in and make a voting dollar.
Yeah. But you would think, right, with 20,000 ratepayers out here, that we could take care of our own elderly
You
population,
certainly should be able to.
as well as the roads and as well as the rubbish.
Yeah.
And yet, I think those are some of the main issues that people have at the moment.
Yeah.
That we're not maintaining the roads, that we're not doing a good job with the rubbish.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, that we're probably going to divest the aged care.
Yeah. 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 Look, council's too busy getting into people's lives where they should be maintaining the infrastructure. It's not what they were there. They should readapt the shire role. And we had two shires here. We had the municipal shire and we had the Cooma Monaro shire. I hope the wording of those is too right. But one was to look after in the town and one was to look after the rural side. And that was all combined. One thing that they inherited that hurt in the initial stages with the Cooma Monaro Shire was that they inherited this infrastructure of Cooma North from the Snowy Mountains Hydro Authority. And that has been problematic for them for a long time because it wasn't meant to be here. It wasn't meant to last. Water main failures and all that sort of thing, which they get on top of. The water crew do a really good job to get that sorted out. Like we've had many here, which they've rectified now and put a new water main through here. But, they'd be out all night working on these things in freezing conditions and never complain. And I'm sort of digressing here a bit, and you'll have to bring me back.
Your issue's not so much with the staff, it's more with the bureaucracy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Now, during your time as a fleet operator, what were some changes that you would have liked to have seen made?
I think they were fairly held back on monetary side of things at the time I was there. There was always a predetermined budget that they had to operate on, and it sort of was like that crystal ball. What's going to break? What's not going to break? How are we going to keep on top of things? That sort of stuff. And when something broke, the costs involved and the materials required to rectify that was always questioned, and it was always the accountability trail right up to the heads of the officers. Like it wasn't the mechanic's fault, it wasn't the operator's fault, it wasn't the fleet manager's fault.
No one's responsible.
It wasn't his boss's fault. It was just this issue of money was a big thing.
Some would say it hasn't changed.
No, probably not. No, probably not. And initially before the amalgamation, as I understood it, and I was just told that the equipment was turned over a lot more readily and quickly, where there was a profit in it because the council would buy at a good price and exemptions and things, and be able to do that on a contract basis, and then use the vehicle, maintain it, look after it, send it to auction, and make a buck on it, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's good, but I don't think they can do that now, and they have to extend the length of vehicles out and equipment out, and then it starts to depreciate to value. It doesn't achieve the sale cost. And yeah, that's one area.
What about the view that perhaps council shouldn't be involved in certain fleet operations, that perhaps we should outsource maybe even the roads to external contractors entirely?
I'd be scared that the funding might disappear one day. If you were to have a contract with a set amount to maintain and do the work, and then your contractor takes the money and runs. I think this is something that's happening across the country.
Well, I wanted to be more specific.
Yep.
For instance, the Polo Flat Road.
Yeah, Polo Flat Road.
Tell me about that.
I think time limitations and spending costs were spending windows were the time. I think the contractor wanted to do the job and do it correctly, but from what I've heard, the funding had a time on it that it had to be spent, and they had to sign off on it, and the contractor was forced to finish the job beforehand, and it was done in not ideal time of the year as well for sealing and asphalt mix and those sorts of things. That's why you got the failure. But yeah, the money had to be spent in this time frame, and that was why it was rushed at that. If they'd have been able to work it out 6 months before, or put it into a works program a bit earlier than that, then that road would have probably been fine. But it was rushed.
I heard that road cost almost $1 million.
Don't doubt that.
And apparently there's no warranty on it.
No.
That's what I've heard.
I heard that story as well. Yeah.
I'd love to be able to sell something around $1 million and not include warranty.
Yeah.
I'd love that deal.
Yeah. It's a bit like what I told my last employer before we headed into the COVID trail. I say, you wouldn't buy a new car without a warranty. You're not going to take this on board without a warranty, and no guarantee on that as well. So yeah, quite right.
Oh, I'd love that contract.
Yeah.
Well, let's go zoom out a bit more. You also see Australia's national sovereignty being compromised in recent years. Is that right? Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair statement. Yeah. It's fairly important that we, to the powers that be that are coming in on us, that we do lose our sovereignty.
In what ways? What specific
pride
ways?
in the nation.
Okay, that's a good one.
Pride in the nation is one thing that we're losing.
Because we're just a bunch of colonizers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we stole the land.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, unfortunately, we're giving away all its wealth.
Let's just go back to what you said. We stole the land. I think that sentence in itself would divide a lot of the nation right now.
Absolutely, it does.
So when you say it to me, I know that you're joking and it's said in a comical way. But there would be a large segment of the population that do genuinely believe that this land was stolen.
Yeah, there certainly are. And it was colonised. But it was
invaded.
Yeah. Well, no, it was colonised. But it wasn't the first time. Like, the nation had previously had settlers from, say, Germany. There'd been century-old cross-trading with the indigenous people, with other people from, other merchants and traders. That business had been going on long before the British come along and settled.
You're saying we can't blame all our problems on the British?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, but there's evidence of it where they were trading for years and years before we were settled. We ourselves, our forefathers, and our children can't be held to account for what went on then. The British Empire was a fairly big machine, and truth be known, it still is today, but it's running behind. It's running quietly.
Running on fumes, perhaps.
Yeah, but it's still as big as it ever was. Like,
I believe the word is Commonwealth now.
Yeah. Commonwealth. Yes, that's disappeared for the time being.
But I do feel your sentiment. I do remember growing up in the 80s, and there was only one worldview at the time, and that was a commonality and pride in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas I think in the last 20 years or so, we've seen that erosion where we're supposed to self-immolate at the idea of taking pride in what we've achieved as a nation.
Yeah. And another thing that's done that to us is it's become a nanostate. Like, everybody has to be careful with what they do and not take a risk and not enjoy yourself. And
you can't call people fat.
Yeah, stuff like that.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them too.
I'm really there too myself. That's terrible of what's happened to the nation in that regard. That it's just a nanostate, and you can't take a risk or a gamble. My kids couldn't do growing up what we used to do. Like, we had a paddock available next door, and we had motorbikes and old cars, and we could shoot a rifle, and we could go fishing without a license.
What's the saying? You need a hunting license, a gun license,
Yeah.
a fishing license,
Yeah.
a car license,
Yep.
a workplace license,
Yeah. Yeah. You
a
need
white card,
a license to think. Yeah.
a journalistic license soon.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Very soon you'll need to register to be able to access YouTube or Facebook.
It's coming.
If you can even get on Facebook.
Yeah. If you can get on. Yeah. 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 True. But anyway, that's what we've all got to be aware of. Hopefully everyone will be able to see where we're going with that.
And had you got into council, how do you think you might have helped shift that decline in common worldview in national sovereignty?
I think with the group that we were looking at running with, it was the same general consensus that they all had a lot of pride in the nation, and area and community, and I think
family too,
and family, and reinforcing that through representation in the council, I feel would have probably made all the difference.
It's funny that we touched on the topic of family too, because if you look at the independents, all of them come from really good families.
Right.
For instance, Reuben Rose,
Yep.
fantastic family.
Yep.
Husband, wife, children, fantastic. Bob Stewart as well, family man. Andrew Thaler, no matter what people say, great family man
Yep.
as well. Luke Williamson,
Yep.
family man. But when you look at the converse of that, you don't find as strong families on the other side.
Yeah, true.
I just think that's an interesting thing to reflect on.
It's an interesting thing to say, yeah, for sure. It's an observation.
I'm a big believer in family. I think family forms the foundation of any nation.
Yeah.
And when there's erosion in the family, I think I would say the root cause of a lot of our issues today is the erosion of the family.
Yeah, I ideally miss a lot of my family because they've just basically passed on, moved on. Very few in and around, but my wife's family's massive, and yeah, we anything that goes on anywhere, anytime, they're all together, and it's huge when they get together.
My big hope is that the conservative movement will grow just because we have more children than the liberals.
Yeah.
When I say liberal, I don't mean Liberal Party. I mean the progressives.
Yeah. Maybe.
Or the regressives.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it just needs. Hopefully, it'll be that they get to a time in life and they see the right way. It seems to be a switch in time in their life, and because I would say I was probably no different when I was younger either, but now, yeah.
I've always been a conservative, but I feel that the Conservative Party has left me.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah.
Is there something you think that most Australians aren't aware of that they should be?
They should be really aware that everything that they have, everything that they own and hold dear to them, someone else wants it. Someone wants to take it away from them. And they need to really open their eyes and find out where that's coming from. Property rights and the Torrens title has been eroded here in Australia, whereas taking from ownership of land, the title deeds that you held in the paper form for the Torrens title, which states in fee simple, which means you own that property in its right, has changed on a new digital format that they've taken and instructed all the banks and everyone to destroy the paper land titles and change the wording to fee simple, which changes the ownership of your land from what we are used to here in the States, or have been used to in the States, of I own that land, or I have a mortgage over it, but the bank doesn't own it, I own it, to a rental situation, like a lease situation where you pay rent, and that's what rates sort of are, to the government, local government, and you don't own that property. Like
It's
in the
strange.
ACT and everything like that, they've got a 99-year lease on the property, but you still have to trade that property in the market, but you never own it.
I think I should add some clarity, because I think in the future, or even now, there'd be a lot of the younger generation that don't understand that when you pay stamp duty on a property, it's literally because in the past you would have to buy that stamp that was used to certify a document. Whereas now you pay stamp duty, and it's like, what does this have to do with anything?
Mm.
But now, as you're saying, it's changed from stamp duty fee to a different sort of fee.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, you've got to be very careful of that. And anyone who's actually holding the paper deed to their property, and the Torrens title, is miles in front of someone who's allowed it to fall into the hands of a third party. Because at the end of the day, push comes to shove, everything that's been done to the titles of your properties to make them fee simple, if you're holding the document, that disproves the fact that what they've gone ahead and done, because that can't be.
How do you prove a digital document?
Yeah, exactly. And
or as Ruben Rose likes to say, verbal advice isn't worth the paper it's written on.
no, that's right. Yeah, quite true. He's a wise man. Wise man. Yeah. That's that, and to see that exposure of people's properties and assets and things like that, it's just, it's about, I think people need to stop focusing so much on the day in, day out survival thing. And I had this rehearsed in my head and I can't get it now. They need to focus less on survival and look more to where they came from in their establishment, the
bigger picture.
The bigger picture.
But I think that's exactly the problem, that life is so hard now. It's cost of living, with stresses from work, from just existing in the culture, that people can't focus on the bigger things.
Yeah. It's hard. Like, you might have a small distraction here and there.
I suppose that's why community is so important. So that when you do fall off the rails, like you get evicted, and that you do have family that you can call on.
Yeah, family, friends, community. Yeah.
Instead of perhaps the government, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think Australia can remember a time when we didn't have the NDIS now. But for most of our history, we haven't had the NDIS, where we had to rely on charities and your neighbours and your family. Yeah,
and a thing, you can roll that back to aged care too. Like, the family would look after their elderly. It's a different world now that they can't do that, because they've all got to go to work and they've got to pay the mortgage and the bills and
now you can't rely on your community either.
Yeah, and now the community can't do that for you either. Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, but there are members in the community and groups within the community that are trying really hard.
And you're one of them.
Not really. But yeah, there are others that I talk to that are trying really hard to make sure the community stays connected. Make sure that the better future for the community is being looked after, and just make sure that it's not stolen from them. That the things, the assets, and the community facilities and things like that are available to community members, so you can get together and do things.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for a lot anyway. Just, if you've got an issue or you've got a problem and you want to sort it out, it's often hard for people to talk about how they got into that situation.
Yeah.
That if the community that has always got an open ear, like the pub was always a good place to go to for that.
I would say the church, but
the church, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you're right. The church too, yeah, and that's just another church.
If the church didn't work out, the pub was down the road.
Yeah. No, you're quite right, and the church is another one that is definitely under threat for us too. And
especially in Canberra.
Yeah.
They can just take over a hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that was another good move by the Greens, that one, wasn't it? Yes.
Is there any question that I should be asking you that I haven't?
No, I think I've pretty much brought out most things that had to be, that was me, and why I tick and why I run for the council. And yeah, I would have liked to have given more effort to that. I would have loved to have got in there and made a difference to the way the council workers can get their job better, give them their better opportunities.
Especially with your history working in the council.
Yeah. Well, in that, I could see a little bit of what was going on. And having 23 years of small business experience, you could see ways that possibly things could have been better. But it is, it's the machine. It's hard to improve a machine like that, but you don't want to see it roll itself backwards all the time. Yeah.
I think Ruben also says this great quote, which is, bad systems break good people 100% of the time. And I think that's quite accurate in this.
Yeah.
In our region.
Yep.
Finally, what keeps you hopeful, even when the odds seem stacked against you?
In the hope of the future, I see hope in small kids' eyes. That's one thing. I think it's a fair miracle these days that we've see so many kids coming along. The birth rates are down and all that sort of thing, but you see a child and it's so precious because that's the future of where we're headed, and they need all the support in the world to get there. That gives me hope to see that the family block in some areas is still coming on. Some of them are resisting, and I think you'll see the ones that are resisting the pressure to fail are the ones that's got good family support. And yeah, if they're willing to take it and the family's got it there for them, that'll keep us going. That'll keep the world ticking on.
No, I love that. I think that's what drew me to you, which was you're all about family and community, and
yeah.
I think, like I said before, I think that's the bedrock of any good nation, any good community.
Yeah, leave the community to look after itself, and just get on with roads and rubbish.
Yeah. Thank you, James, for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
You can't keep a good man down. The truth's gonna catch ya. It's coming around. Hold on, it's on its way. Bye, gang, it's time you go away. You can't freeze the voice of the Monaro. We rise from the frost with fire in our marrow.
Yo, freedom of speech, that's the base of the stack. If we ain't got that, we ain't ever coming back. Thomas J said it, liberty fades when press gets pressed and truth gets caged. Now they say confidence build a town, but confidence and clowns just brings us down. Call it My Little Pony Council vibes. Glitter talking while the region dives. Only 3% said council's tight. The rest can smell that something not right. Roads, rubbish, rates and rage. They feed us spin, we feed the page, yeah.
You can't keep a good man down. The truth's gonna catch ya. It's coming around. Hold on, it's on its way. Bye, gang, it's time you go away. You can't freeze the voice of the Monaro. We rise from the frost with fire in our marrow.
Now let's talk real. Sonia Kylie, rolling to Cooma tank glue, but the facts with help from view. Michelaggo fam got shut down, questions ignored. Silence in this ghost town. Peter got a court win, now they punish the dude. Blocking emails, no response, just legal feud. Supreme Court, that's your rate cash flying when they could've just said sorry, but now they lying. A scuffle in chambers, they caught it on cam, but no one charged, like it's all a scam. Labor gals play tough as they duck and weave, while truth gets buried like autumn leaves. Yeah.
Can't keep a good man down. The truth's gonna catch ya. It's coming around. Hold on, it's on its way. Bye, gang, it's time you go away. You can't freeze the voice of the Monaro. We rise from the frost with fire in our marrow.
They shut down our posts, deleted the feed. All cause we asked who's planting the seed. 3 houses, 1 street, too close to the core. They said shh, we said let's explore. We just locals with a cam and a cause, but we write hard, now they reach for the claws. From trolls in town to Parliament flags, still we stand. Truth never takes a step back. Don't need a budget, don't need a boss. We got heart and we bear the cross. So rise with us, don't stay afraid. Monaro strong when truth is played, yeah.
You can't keep a good man down. The truth's gonna catch ya. It's coming around. Hold on, it's on